So you're getting out of the Army. Congrats, you did it. Alright, so my last video, it's my first video on this channel. And it was for those people who are looking at getting into the Army. This is for all my dudes who are getting out of the Army. Like I said in the last video, if you haven't seen it, name's Darius. I got out of the Army last year in 2024. And it was pretty cool. I like being out of the Army. I like being a civilian now. So let's kind of get into that whole process real quick. Little points and tips that I wish I would have kind of had going out of it. So first off, when you start I think you hit your 18 months, you're gonna hit your SFL tap time. That time's kind of for you to just start focusing on you. You've already done however many years, however many contracts. When you go into that SFL tap capstone, like you're transitioning to your capstone and stuff, that's your time to kind of focus on you. Getting your whole life in order, because you're about to make this huge move. It's a completely different thing that's going to happen in your world. Your world's going to change completely. So SFL tap, it's just kind of your little basic, very basic building blocks to kind of show you how to survive that transition back into the civilian world. I know when I went in, met with the SFL tap counselor for the first time, I didn't have much of anything to worry about, so they didn't require me to do but the bare minimum, but I still took as many pathways as I could so I could learn more information. I did like the resume building course, the business course, the education course, just about everything I could get my hands on just so I could have knowledge, and then just kind of open my eyes a little bit to all the different, they have all these different little things for veterans now that I would have never known about. All these different benefits that you can really use to your advantage getting out. And then another thing is your CSP, your career skills program. So your career skills program is the last 180 days of your contract. You can do an internship that's paid by the Army. So if it's local, I think it's just the command level or battalion level sign off, and basically you go intern at a local business. If it's, across the country or back home or out of that radius, then you're gonna go, I think it's brigade level or division level. And that just kind of sets you up, get your foot in the door with the company. You're interning with them, but you're getting paid by the Army to be interning with that entity. Like I said, gets your foot in the door. I didn't do it, but when you go through SFL tap, talk to them. Make sure if you are gonna do out of that boundary that you talk to them early. The SFL tap people, let them know, hey, I need to talk to CSP people because I want to go across the country or whatever to do my CSP. That way they can get all the paperwork ready, because I know guys who were trying to do CSP, but they waited until like the last 10 days before the 180 days and they couldn't do the CSP because they didn't have enough time to approve it. So yeah, getting out of the Army, that's kind of the Army side of it. That last day you're driving out the gate, it feels amazing. You're like, oh yeah, you get your DD-214, you're like, I don't gotta wear a uniform no more. I'm leaving, I ain't never coming back. You get to say goodbye to your friends that last few weeks. I kind of went my last 2 weekends, I made it a point to get with everybody that I was close with, and I'd go out for lunch or dinner, and we'd all just kind of hang out. I'd get one-on-one time with my best friends, and then booked it out of there on my last day. So got my DD-214, went back to the company, did a little speech, and then got on the road. And then from there, went home, went to where I'd set my roots here. So I know getting out with the family is stressful. Getting out in general is stressful. You need to make sure that you have everything planned out before you do it, because if you don't, you're going to set yourself up for failure. And don't drag those people down with you that you love because you failed to plan. So what I did is I took terminal leave. So I had like 20 something days of terminal leave. Took it. And that way, 2 or 3 months before I took my terminal leave, I was putting in applications. And I knew when I got here, I had a job that I really wanted. And I had already applied for them, and they had a long waiting list. So I applied like 4 months before the end of my terminal leave. So 3 months before I even went on terminal leave. And then I also had like 2 or 3 jobs on the back burner just in case that one didn't pan out. And that's the best thing you can do. Make sure you have finances, enough stability. That last month while you're on terminal leave, you're going to have that cash flow from the Army, and then all of a sudden they're going to cut that check, your last check, bam, you're off, like you're on your own. So another thing with finances is if you're going to do VA claims, do the BDD 180 days out as well. You can go ahead and submit your BDD. So you need to get on it beforehand. You need to, I think the 180 days is when you can request your final medical records from your Army medical home, is what we called it in the Army, your troop clinic. Get those, take it to your veteran services officer at your VFW office on your post, and then they'll go ahead and start your BDD claim. I didn't do that because I was gone. I was all over the place. So when I submitted my claim like 3 days before I left the Army, and then it took forever to hear back and get through that process. So the BDD claim is going to be your best bet at getting your disability compensation and whatnot. So from there, like I said, making sure you have that job lined up, all those applications, your interviews ready. On my terminal leave, I went and did my interview, and then the day after my terminal leave, or that next week, was my day starting my new career. That was the best way to do it. That way I had my savings. I still had savings enough in case something went wrong. I still had a month to play with. I think there's like about a month or more, to a little over a month, to kind of, in case something went wrong, I could switch gears and, okay, we're on track. And then so making sure you have that option, if you will. Hold on, I need a drink real quick. So you get your job. Civilian life, way different than Army life. Even at the place you work, you're not going to have that kind of, I haven't seen it at my workplace, that closeness that you had with your friends in the Army. It's just not the same. So you gotta kind of be ready for that. There's a lot of different groups, a lot of veteran groups out there. I know when I got home, I was at an appointment and some guy walked up to me and he's like, "Hey, were you in the military?" And I was like, "Yeah." And because I was talking to the lady at the desk, and I think I was on terminal leave still, and I was like, "Hey, yeah," I was using my TRICARE, and so he had overheard that, and he was like, "Hey, I'm part of the Disabled American Veterans unit or whatever post in my city," and he's like, "We're looking for members. When's the end of your leave?" And or your terminal leave, and I was like, oh, this, and he's like, oh, you should sign up. You know, we offer all these liaison assistants. We have meetings, and we're looking for members. And so yeah, there's all these. You have the VFW, you have DAV, you have the Legion, and then you also have little groups. Like I know at my work, it's a very veteran-friendly work, or a veteran-friendly company. So they hire a lot of veterans. So there's a lot of groups and cliques of veterans, and that's another thing is like. I know in my unit in the Army, it was very open. It wasn't very cliquish. Like you still had the little friend groups that were really close, but everybody kind of commingled together. And out here, I've noticed that everybody has their own little set kind of group within workplaces. So yeah, just kind of being ready for that. You know, still keeping up with the people that you were really close with back in the Army, making sure, you know, you're still texting them, calling them every now and then, you know, because a lot of your buddies that you may have grown up with in the Army are getting out too, and they're going through the same thing halfway across the world. Who says that you can't call them, you know? And then next, after that, just kind of being ready for that is, once I left the Army, I kind of lost a purpose, I still had my purpose of like being a father and being a husband, but my daily like task, what am I doing today, was a huge thing for me. In the Army, it's always kind of laid out for you, and a civilian job, a lot of times you're just doing a job, and you got to get used to that. There's no glamour or noble reason for it. You're just there to do your job and make your paycheck and go home. So you have to find a purpose. My purpose was to give my family financial freedom and make sure my kids had everything that I wanted as a child, make sure my wife has everything that she deserves in this lifetime, and that's my purpose every day. Like when I'm at work, I'm working hard. I'm constantly trying to move up because I want to be higher and higher and higher up there, so I can provide those things. And that works for me. It works for me because I'm constantly looking for new ways to improve myself at work, constantly looking to better myself at work. And then I've also found that I have this little purpose at work. If I get, you know, complacent on the job, I like to learn things, so I try to like do something better all the time. If I do something wrong, I look at it, okay, I can do this better this way, I can do this better this way, I can do this better this way, I can do this quicker this way, and it kind of works for me. I enjoy doing that. And then kind of finding your niche. What do you like to do? In the military, you don't really have time for that. Like, you're constantly training, you're constantly doing layouts, you're constantly doing whatever. Especially in peacetime, it seems like in garrison, you're super duper busy all the time with things that really a lot of times you probably shouldn't be busy with because there's no point to it. But once you're home and you're working that 9-to-5 job, it's only 8 hours. What are you going to do after that? So finding that thing. I know for me, I took up woodworking. It was on a whim. I got a saw, went out to my garage, and I started cutting out wood and making things out of wood. And I apparently like making things out of wood. So that's just kind of a thing for you. Those are my little tips for getting out of the Army, just being ready. So I hope you liked the video. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.